This is gonna take Cracker Jack timing, Wang.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
Welcome back to Thick and Critical. This is Wes. It's time for the next comic review. Today I am reviewing Amazing Fantasy number 1 of 5 from Kaare Andrews, writer-artist on this series. Kaare Andrews is coming off of the magnificent Erratic over at AWA Studios. So I was very excited to see that they were going to bring back the name. Obviously, Amazing Fantasy is forever tied to Spider-Man. Amazing Fantasy 15, we saw the debut of the webhead himself. So this is a name that has a lot of cachet behind it, and I'm glad that Marvel Comics put a fantastic creator on here when they talked about the premise of the book. Basically, you're going to get World War II, Captain America, Teenage Spider-Man, and Red Room, Black Widow coming together for an adventure on an island. I said, hell yeah! I saw the cover, Captain America riding a griffin. I said, even more hell yeah! This is all within my wheelhouse. You know the art's going to be fantastic. Kaare Andrews is a fantastic writer, and I love seeing more classic interpretations of these characters. Not exactly enamored with what we're getting from Chris Cantwell, Captain America these days. So this is the Marvel comic I'm most excited for the end of 2021, and I will say it did not disappoint. This is a highly recommend. Now there are a couple of things keeping this from being a 5-star comic, and it's not the art. The art's fantastic. When I get to that, you're gonna be like, yeah, Kaare Andrews brought it here. But this is a $5 comic, and there are 20 pages. That's a lot of money for a 20-page comic, even as well illustrated by this. The other reason that this doesn't get like a 4.5, 5-star review or score is that this comic left me with a bit of comic book blue balls. Since it's so short and there's 3 main characters and we're getting stories of all 3, by the time we get to the end, and it's like, oh, you know, we've introduced the characters, we've had a little foreplay here, and it's time to have some fun. The comic book's over. And that was very disappointing. This debut issue probably should have been more like 40 pages, or at least like 32 or 36, because it certainly ends on a cliffhanger, and it's an exciting cliffhanger. But like I said, it left me in not a good state. Let's put it that way. I had a lot of pressure built up. It was trying to see something, more substantial rather than just kind of the setup. And that's mostly what this comic book is. So it is a 4-star, highly recommend. Feels a little bit longer, to justify the $5 price, where you would have been getting up into 4.5, 5-star territory, in my opinion. The comic book blue balls are no way to go through life. And that's what this comic book gave me. Obviously, that means that I was quite enamored with it and very excited, if you catch my drift. Now, before we get into the details of this comic book review, I do want to talk about my friends over at Comics Elite. If you haven't been going to the podcast every Wednesday morning, I load up their top 10 comics of the weeks, and they're the ones they would skip. I think it's a good service for comic book readers. They've read all the comics that they talk about on that podcast. But they're also doing a lot of store commission covers. Last week, I talked about this one right here from Moon Knight #1, the debut from Jed MacKay. And this was the homage to Werewolf by Night from Ken Lashley. Apparently, the interest was very high in this comic book, or at least this cover, because when the sale went live on Comics Elite website, it sold out immediately, like within minutes. And I imagine there are some of you out there that are upset you did not get your hands on this beautiful Ken Lashley homage cover. I have good news for you. If you're going to TerrifiCon at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut this weekend, starts tomorrow, the guys from Comics Elite are going to have their own booth, and this cover, as well as this amazing version cover, are going to be available for sale. I believe the guys from 616 Comics as well. I think the owner's name is John Leone. Really cool guy. Super, super, super nice. If you see Sean or Drew from Comics Elite, tell them Wes sent you. If you see John from 616 Comics, tell them Wes sent you. They're all good guys, and I really like them a lot. So if you go to those two tables at TerrifiCon, if you're going to the Mohegan Sun to check out that con, you can get your hands on this cover. The regular homage Werewolf by Night variant with the trade dress, or this wonderful version cover. And I have been told there are rumors that there will be signed copies as well. So if you missed out on the sale day of from the website and you can make it to TerrifiCon, you can still get this awesome cover. And that is very exciting. Definitely visit the guys from Comics Elite and 616 Comics. We really appreciate those guys. So now let's get into the comic book review itself. As usual, we will talk about the art first. And oh boy, this is absolutely the coolest feature of this comic book. You think, well, you're getting a comic book about World War II Cap, high school Spider-Man, Red Room, Black Widow. Like, that's going to be the standout feature. It sort of is, but it's the art. Every one of them in their backstory has their own unique art style, featuring the mood and tone of the character and highlighting it with unique art styles. You're like, well, there must be 3 artists. Well, technically, there's 4 types of art style, because when they get to the island, there's a 4th style that they're all in together. But it's all one artist. Kaare Andrews does 4 distinctive art styles in this comic book. And it's so great. You get this awesome World War II Cap before he gets to the island. This is very much a young Cap in his mission. He's just a soldier. He doesn't see himself as anything bigger than just being a soldier at this point in his life. He's very by the book. They're in a ship convoy, and they're on the lookout for U-boats so they don't get sunk. Very cool stuff. Look at that wonderful art style. Very serious in nature compared to the other 2 stories. The next distinct art style we get is from Black Widow, as she's in the Red Room training as a young woman. Obviously not quite yet a full-fledged assassin killer like she's going to be trained up as. This is much more, I don't want to say whimsical, because it's not that abstract, but it has it feels like Juan Ferreira's art. Like, it's got a lot of that flair to it. It certainly has a more dreamlike state to it. Let's put it that way. It's much different in tone than either Captain America or Spider-Man. When we do get to Spidey, he has the most classic look, in my opinion. Feels like it's ripped right out of the 60s. Very bright, very vibrant, really pops off the page. Really looks like Spider-Man from the classic issues. I love this. This is the standout feature of this comic book. Kaare Andrews, 4 distinct art styles in this comic book. Fantastic. And he pulls all of them off at such a high standard. The art in this comic book is easily 5-star. And I think once people get their hands on this and they say you can't believe it's 1 artist. It has to be 4, but it's actually 1. It's just Kaare Andrews. Fantastic stuff. Really, really cool that he did that. You can see that Kaare Andrews is putting his heart and soul into this comic book. And that's why I knew it was going to be good coming off of Erratic. You can see the guy as a creator, as both a writer and artist. He's in the zone. He's feeling it, folks. And if you're getting a Kaare Andrews comic book right now, is he at the apex of his creative abilities? We shall see, but he's certainly on the rise. I don't know how high he can go, but this is fantastic, and I really hope that these all sell out. And people being comic shops really ordered heavy, because this is dope. Now let's get into the 3 distinct stories. We do get this introductory story of Cap. He's in this convoy of ships, and he's a good soldier. He's talking to this young man who's got a very bad feeling about it. He wants to know his name. The young man says, Smitty, I have to get home. We've got a baby on the way. And Cap says, you can call me Cap, Smitty, and you can keep calling me Cap when you're holding the new baby of yours. That's a promise. As soon as that happens, they get hit by U-boats, and you can see him sinking into the abyss, and he's thinking about how he's not going to be able to deliver on this promise. He just promised this young man that he was going to get home to hold his baby, and he was not able to deliver. And when he wakes up, he ends up on this island. It's got like this really cool Tarzan feel. He even wears like the Captain America uniform kind of as a loincloth after the first few pages. He ends up running into some magical creature. He's being hunted down by some green dudes. He meets this lady. She's trying to protect what appears to be her son. And then she passes out. And Cap's going to help her. By this point, he's already ran into a griffin. The griffin was fighting a dragon, I guess. And he uses the shield to hit the dragon and save the griffin. And it turns out that Griffin is a friend of theirs. And we do get to see, as you saw in the thumbnail, Captain America riding a Griffin, saving this young woman and her son, who has a tail. So they're definitely not human. You can see she's also got some elven-like ears to her. Very cool stuff. Not sure where this is going. But by the end of the page, Captain America has an enormous battle axe. He's got a damsel in distress in his arms. He's riding a Griffin that's got some war paint on its face. By war paint, it's actually wounded, and it's got some blood because the dragon attacked it. But really cool stuff. Unfortunately, too abbreviated. I wanted so much more. I wanted this comic to never end. That's the problem. When you make a comic that good, you never want to say it. You can definitely see the distinct art style. These last few pages or these panels, that's the art that you get on the island. You can see it's got like the gutters are different colored and stuff, so it's really easy to tell where you are, not just by the art style, but there are a lot of visual clues to let you know what's going on. The next story we'll talk about is Spider-Man, and this is a very young Spider-Man. He's all about quips. He's having a good time. The population of New York are still calling him a menace, so he hasn't quite gotten himself over as the protector of the people of New York. And he's going at it with the Green Goblin. Really cool stuff here. He does get hit by one of the jack-o'-lantern bombs, and when he wakes up, he's like in a cauldron, and he's about to be cooked by all these lizard men. And he's sitting there and he's quipping and saying, don't do this. And next thing you know, the lizard men are being attacked by bird men. And he's got a lot of funny things to say about it. I will give Kaare Andrews this. As great as he is a writer, he definitely gets the voice of Peter Parker as a teenager, who we haven't seen done well, like since the 60s and 70s. And we see this enormous bird that's leading the bird infiltration of the lizards. So many weird things going on this island. It's such a good sci-fi fantasy comic book. And she ends up, well, I say I gave something away here, but she ends up hitting him in the head with like a mallet, knocking him out. And when he wakes up, she takes the mask off. It turns out she's not a bird. That was like a headdress. And we get a moment that you don't see very often in comics. He's been waiting for you. There you are. Come over here and give your uncle a hug. Peter pulls the mask up. You can see, super surprised, gives him an enormous hug. Uncle Ben, I missed you too, Petey. You look good. How long has it been? I've lost track of time. Too long. How is this possible? Where are we? Oh, Peter, you're dead. And that is the cliffhanger of the comic book. What is this island? Is this island purgatory? Do they have to make up for sins of the past, or what is it? Are they trying to make amends here? Obviously, we've seen what happened with Captain America. He made the promise to the young man on the boat. He immediately died. Is he here to make up for that? Peter, certainly feels a lot of guilt for what happened to his Uncle Ben, and he gets to he's reunited with him on this island, as apparently they're dead. I'm not really sure what's bringing them all together. I imagine we're going to get some more information and clues about this next issue. But this was a crazy cliffhanger. I had no idea this was coming. And when I saw that character, I did not realize it was Uncle Ben until he gave a big hug and said Uncle Ben. It was really cool moment. Very well done by Kaare Andrews. The other story that's in here is a little bit shorter. Black Widow doesn't quite get all the time in the world, but we see her training in the Red Room. She takes out some of her competition in there, and her instructor Alexa is kind of talking trash on the other female recruits or trainees, whatever you want to call them. She starts escaping. She's got a mask on, and she gets to this rendezvous point where there's supposed to be a vehicle of some type. I can't remember. I think it was a helicopter, but I might be wrong. Maybe it was some type of Jeep or something. And when she gets there, you realize that she and Alexa are supposed to be defecting to West Germany. That's the plan. And it turns out it was a test of loyalty. He pulls out his sidearm. He shoots her. She is eventually hunted down by the other females in the class. And when she wakes up, she's on the back of this steed with this warrior up front. And he says, "Good, you've awoken." And she says, "If you say so, he awaits your presence." And there's this enormous tower with like these enormous bones on him. And he explains he has many names. So that one got a little bit less breathing room. But as you could see why I would have got a case of the comic book blue balls on this one. all these stories within this comic were really cool. And we did get an enormous cliffhanger. We got to see Uncle Ben, and we found out that they're dead, or at least he is. I think they're all on the same island. And that was the end of it. I wanted so much more. This needed to be at least 2 or 3 times more pages. And that is my review of Amazing Fantasy #1 by Kaare Andrews, writer and artist. This thing is fantastic. Excellent characterization on World War II Captain America. Excellent characterization on Teenage Spider-Man. And fantastic characterization as well on Natasha Romanoff in the Red Room. We did get to see Cap ride a griffin. So he delivered on the promise of the cover, but we also got to see Peter Parker meet Uncle Ben in the afterlife, give him a big hug, tell him he missed him. That was a great moment, and there's a lot of intrigue. Unfortunately, this is only 5 issues. This will be playing out. I highly recommend this. I think even with the $5 cover price and the limited page count, I think people will come away, for the most part, very happy with this comic book, and they're going to be eating it up and waiting for the very next issue, just like me. And that is my review. 4 stars. It didn't quite meet my expectations. If it were a little bit longer, absolutely would have been. But this is why we read comic books, folks. And definitely, if you're going to be at TerrifiCon this weekend, go and see the boys, Sean and Drew from Comics Elite. Go see John from 616 Comics. Let him know Wes sent you. Have a good time, and try and get your hands on that wonderful Werewolf by Night homage cover from Ken Lashley from Moon Knight #1 that came out last week. I think it'll be worth the investment, and I will see y'all later. We got what do we got later today? We're going to be talking about Nick Spencer. That'll be interesting. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.